don't need credit to buy a REIT. You don't need to borrow money from the bank to buy a REIT. Now, this is an easier way for the everyday person who may not have a lot to start with, who may not have good credit. You don't need to borrow money from the bank. It doesn't cost you thousands of dollars, but REITs pay out anywhere between 4 to like 17, 18% in passive income. You're able to collect income on a monthly or quarterly basis. But here's the thing. The reason a REIT is called a real estate investment trust is because they don't pay corporate tax. So here's where it's important for the everyday person. REITs typically, the majority of all of them are less than $200. So a REIT is a real estate investment trust. It's where the everyday person can invest in income producing real estate and collect passive income. So here's how it works. It's like you owning stock in a real estate company that owns, operates, and manages commercial real estate. 1 out of every 3 properties are owned by a REIT. So it can either be owned by a person, a company, or a REIT, a real estate investment trust. Now, there's so many different types of REITs. You have hospitals, you have senior homes, you have shopping centers, you have malls, you have apartment buildings, office buildings. Some of the biggest and best companies, some of the biggest and best pieces of real estate are owned by some of the biggest and best companies, and they are REITs. Now, here's how it works. First things first, you have to open a brokerage account. So you buy a REIT, real estate investment trust, just like you buy a stock, except it doesn't move as frequent as a stock. When you're buying a REIT, your job is to collect passive income. So for every share you own of a REIT, you're able to collect income on a monthly or quarterly basis. But here's the thing. The reason a REIT is called a real estate investment trust is because they don't pay corporate taxes. That's where that trust word comes in. So because they don't pay corporate taxes, here's the agreement. You don't pay corporate taxes, you have to give out 90% of your profits to shareholders. It's actually a law, right? So REITs have been around since the 1960s. But what happens is after the REIT makes their money, so for example, if you live in a major city, chances are there's a Simon Mall in your neighborhood. There's a Simon Mall. Simon is the largest mall operator in America. Simon is a REIT. That's less than $150 a share, right? Now, here's what happens. Simon builds the malls. They own the malls. They manage the property. They manage the tenants. They collect income. Every tenant in that mall pays Simon the REIT income. What happens is Simon takes that money. They pay their bills. What's left over, 90% of it has to go to you, the investors. So it's split up amongst tons of people who own shares in that company. And Simon pays out a dividend every single quarter. Now, here's the thing. REITs typically, the majority of all of them are less than $200. So here's where it's important for the everyday person, because you don't need credit to buy a REIT. You don't need to borrow money from the bank to buy a REIT. You don't have to manage a property to buy the REIT. You don't have to do any of the hard work that someone who owns a property that has a tenant. Now, this is an easier way for the everyday person who may not have a lot to start with, right? Who may not have time to manage properties, who may not have good credit, who may not want to borrow money from the bank. You don't need to borrow money from the bank. It doesn't cost you thousands of dollars, but REITs pay out anywhere between 4 to like 17, 18% in passive income. So I always ask people, what is your savings account paying you? I own a REIT right now that's $11 a share, and it's giving me 14% in income every single year. Wow. And I think that this is the best time to buy REITs because interest rates are high. And when interest rates are high, debt payments are high. So like the same way your interest rate went up with your savings account, it also went up with your credit card. It also went up with mortgages. It also went up with car loans and loans that people take out. So essentially, if your debt minimum payments have gone up, so have real estate companies. So what happens is when interest rates are higher, debt payments are higher on you and companies. So because of that, REITs right now are taking a hit. Their prices are down. But remember, it's the law. They have to pay out income. So now I look at some of the REITs that I own, their prices are down, but I'm able to buy in at a cheaper price and collect consistent income. So REITs are just another way. And I'm not saying not to go buy real estate, not to buy a home, but for the people who want to build passive income and not have to do any work, not have to borrow money from the bank, and they don't need to start with thousands of dollars, REITs essentially are a way for the everyday person to build passive income without having to do all the legwork that an actual real estate investor does. Because when you buy a REIT, it's like you have a trusted business partner. The REIT is the expert. They handle all. They've paid out cash flow to their other investors. You're just getting on the train and say, hey, I want to be a shareholder too. Send me my cash flow as well. But the REIT, your trusted partner, they do all the work for you. They collect the money from the tenants. They fix the broken toilet. They do everything. You're just collecting income.
Wow. what I love about this strategy, Ashley, is number one, the buy-in. How you mentioned that with some situations you can actually get in as low as $200. And when you think about traditional real estate, if you wanted to get in with investing, going that route, typically people can't afford that. They, like you said, they have to go to a bank. But what I like about this strategy is that you don't have, like you said, you don't have to go to a bank to get involved, with this. So, like, for example, now, let's say, for example, there's some REIT stocks that are out there. How do you know which ones to go with? Or is there a particular, I'm not trying to get all the game out, but at the same time, because again, everyone's investment strategy may be a little bit different. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when people buy REITs, their first priority is income. That's the first thing that matters. So the first thing you want to look at is how much are you getting? So when you look up a REIT, if a REIT or stock in general, if there's a percent sign at the bottom of the stock chart, that means you're getting income. That percent shows you for every share you buy, that's the percent you're getting. So you want to find a REIT that has at least 5%. That's a good, you might find it go as high as 18% that you're getting, whether it's on a quarterly basis or a monthly basis, depending on the REIT. So the first thing is, how much are they paying me? The second thing, you can go to NASDAQ, NASDAQ dividend history. You type in the REIT, and what'll happen is it'll show you their dividend history. So what happens is that passive income you get, it's called a dividend on Wall Street. So again, a portion of their profits gets paid to you, the shareholder, in dividends. What happens is that cash gets automatically deposited in your brokerage account. You don't have to go to the bank. You don't have to wait for a buyer or wait for a seller. That money comes like clockwork.
Right.
So when you go to NASDAQ dividend history, what you want to look at is one, consistency. How much every quarter or every month is this REIT paying me? But what's really good is when every year, you want to see that number increase. So for example, you might have a REIT that pays out $2 a quarter, right? You want to see the following year, did they pay $2.05? The next year, $2.10. Because again, you have a good REIT when you're getting reliable income, meaning you don't see any hiccups, and you also get consistent income that's increasing over time. That's what makes the REIT attractive, because the more you buy, the bigger that REIT can get. The third thing you want to look at is their tenants. The same way you get evaluated when you want to go buy a property or you want to go rent a home,
right?
You want quality tenants. So for example, if you don't have a good tenant, then they can't pay consistent rent.
Right.
Which impacts my cash flow. So you want to look at the REITs. When you go to the REIT's website, because every REIT has a website. When you go to their website, you're able to see who their tenants are. So for example, if you go to Simon Property, you can see every single mall that Simon owns around the world. If you go to Realty Income, which is, they call themselves the monthly dividend company, their tenants are like 7-Eleven, Walgreens, Dollar General, AMC, right? You just think about the places you go. Do you know that Target is not in the business of real estate? Target pays rent to a REIT. So you can be Target's landlord. Amazon, think about, we all work, we get our stuff every day from, I know I shop on Amazon every single day, but what if you become Amazon's landlord? Amazon has to store their products somewhere. It's stored in a warehouse. Though there are industrial REITs, companies like Prologis, Stag, those companies are Amazon's landlords. So when Amazon pays rent, if you are invested in Prologis, if you are invested in Stag, then you're collecting passive income. But because Amazon's paying so as long as Amazon's paying their rent and all their other tenants are paying rent, they're getting paid, they're covering their bills, and you get the cash flow. So you want to look at how much they're paying, because that matters. I wouldn't go anywhere below 5%. But if you can get a good REIT that's 10%, 12%, I own a REIT that's 14% right now, and they have tenants like Dick's Sporting Goods, Home Depot, Truist Bank, companies like that. And again, every share you buy, you're able to collect income. The way you build over time is consistently buying more and more shares. And I see it the way it's like buying a property. I'm not buying a property in the hood hoping to flip it. It's not
right.
like buying a REIT. You're buying a REIT in a nice suburban area with a good tenant that's consistent. And again, but you don't have to do all the work now. You don't have to handle anything. The REIT does all the work. So cash flow, you want to see how much they're paying. You want to make sure they're increasing it every year, and you want to look at their tenants, because the type of tenant tells you, can that tenant survive a recession? Because if they can, so Realty Income, which is also called Old Realty, they're known to have recession-proof companies like the Dollar Store, Whether you are in a recession or out of a recession, the dollar store still needs to pay their bills to stay open, right? So Realty Income has been paying out dividends for over 25 years, and they've increased it for over 25 years. So imagine owning a company. Again, you're not trying to flip, you're trying to collect income, but they have been so reliable that over the past 25 years, they've never missed a payment, and they've increased their cash flow every single year. So you can buy a REIT one time and get paid for the rest of your life. As long as that REIT is still here, as long as they're still collecting income, that cash flow is coming to you. What you got to challenge yourself to do is, how many shares do you want to own? Because you can calculate how much cash flow you can get based off of how much you invest in every share. And so you, in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you can replace your income depending on how often or how frequent you invest. But I always ask people, if you how long have you been working at your job or at a job? If you've been working for 5, 10, 15, 20 years at your job, you can invest for 5, 10, 15, 20 years to never ever have to have a job again. REITs can put you in that position.
Wow. Listen, guys. First off, Ashley just gave all the gems on not only how you guys can get involved into REITs and create a strong passive income, but it's so many questions I have. But here, I know we don't have a ton of time to go to deep dive into this. But now, what if people wanted to get more information and they want to be essentially learn directly from you on how they could build a portfolio, how to find the right REITs, how to budget for them, what to set the expectations? How could someone get more information? Do you have anything that people that's coming up or anything like that?
Yeah, so I run an entire app called the Wealth Builders Community. So we're like the Netflix of finance. There's tons of resources in there. But most importantly, what's coming up right now, from October 2nd to October 6th, I'm hosting my first ever brand new 5-day cash flow creation summit. So this is the summit where we covered a lot in a couple of minutes. Yeah. We got 5 days together where we're strictly talking about cash flow. So I'm going to talk about how to get these accounts, what accounts they open, how to open them, how to manage them, what to research, how to calculate your passive income, how to determine which REITs are better than the next REIT so that you can not only collect income, but possibly also grow the value of the REIT over time by holding it and getting it in at cheaper price. So really putting you in a position where you don't have to go through 15 years of experience like me, but figuring out what do I need to do? How do I need to do it? Because I want to build cash flow and I'm not stopping, but I don't want to wait till the end of the year to start over. So we're going to dominate the fourth quarter, focusing strictly over the course of 5 days, how to build a passive income portfolio starting with what you have, where you are. I'm going to give you the tools and resources and the guides and the sessions. And if you got a platinum ticket, we're doing live Q&As every single day. And even if you can't come to every single day, which I do recommend, you will get access to the replays. So you don't have to worry about that. But the goal is to put you in a position where you say, Ashley, I only have $50. Well, let's go build wealth and start getting passive income on the $50 that you have. So I'll be covering things like REITs, real estate investment trusts. We'll be talking about dividend stocks. Parents, we're going to talk about how to do this for your kids. Imagine if somebody taught you this when you were a child. So I'm going to show you how to effectively start investing and building passive income for your child. We're going to just talk about tons of ways for you to get yourself in a position to have the money you need to create the life you want so that we can start to use things like REITs and these dividends that we're making to start paying off our student loans, to start helping us travel the world, to help us start funding our businesses so we don't have to rely on the bank, so we don't have to rely on the government. We're going to look in the mirror and say that I can do this, and Ashley's going to be here to help me get it done. So our 5-day virtual Cash Flow Creation Summit, October 2nd to October 6th. I need all of you there. Again, I'm going to give you everything you need to know about REITs and some, but you're going to come here and not just learn, we're going to produce results. We're going to execute. You're going to walk out having the account and placing yourself in position to start collecting passive income right now in this moment. And we're not going to wait till the new year. We're going to get it done during this summit. So make sure you guys are there because I'm giving my all to this summit. I've never done it before, and I've done a lot of teaching, but I'm breaking it all down so you don't have to wait months to get it done. We're going to get it done in 5 days. Thank you for having me.